Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Esther Perez, and do not forget to like and subscribe because I am sharing all kinds of helpful tips. So I have so much to say about wedding planning, but with this video specifically, I wanted to cover all the things that went wrong before the wedding and even like during the wedding, because it was a pretty hectic week and day, and I just want to let you all know what could happen with your wedding as well. Of course, I think no matter how much you try to plan in advance for things, something could always go wrong. So just make sure you have a plan B, C, and that you're patient for whatever the situation is and ready to make, hopefully, the changes or progress needed so that you can move on. So I made a list, and in total there were about 15 things that went wrong. Mind you, we had a destination wedding, so that alone is like a beast of its own. We were there for a week. A lot of the wedding party and guests, they were there for I think like Thursday to Monday. So a lot of time to do things and get things wrong, but there are so many lessons to be learned, so please keep watching to learn all about what went wrong and how we fixed it. Top thing to note, I would say, if you're a bride or groom and you care a lot about like what you look like the week of or the day of, be very careful about starting any new services before the wedding. I went to get my toes and eyelashes done from a place where I had a gift card, and I thought, wow, this would be a nice way to like save some money since we already put so much into the wedding. And so I went, and I'm like, I'm gonna use the gift card. The gift card covered like a good amount of the services, but mind you, I wasn't typically going to this spot to get service before. And while I was getting my toenails done, they kept cracking. I actually had to stop the attendant, which I usually don't do, but I was like, these are my wedding nails. So I let her know, like, these are my wedding toenails. It's really important that they don't crack while on vacation. Can you please ask someone, like, why is it cracking? And she stopped and like said, yeah, of course, I'll go look into it. I'm not sure why it's cracking either. She seemed pretty newer, so of course I was being patient about it, but still it was like super concerning because I feel like had I not spoken up, I think she would have kept going and they could have been disastrous. So after we got some help, my toes are fine. And then I go over to the next service, which is eyelashes, and it's a different technician this time. And as she's doing them, I realize like she's supposed to just be lifting them. And as she's lifting them, she's like pulling my eyelids apart, and I'm like, oh, I hope like the solution doesn't get in there. And she just keeps like pulling at it, and I'm like, why is she doing that? And once we're done, I'm just looking at my top lashes, and I'm like, great, they look so pretty. I leave, and as I'm home, like just moving around the day, I go look at myself in the mirror, and my bottom lashes kept going up towards like the top lashes because the perm solution actually got my bottom lashes. Usually when you get your eyelashes done, they typically put like a little like tape on your bottom lashes so they don't go up with the top ones. But this technician did not, so my bottom lashes ended up getting curled with my top lashes. It looked awful. I feel like I still can see that they're curled, and I ended up like plucking some out. I tried to use like oil, castor oil to fix it. I was all over Google, like, how can I fix this? And unfortunately there is no quick fix. So mind you, I had never gotten my eyelashes lifted before. I did know that they're supposed to tape it down, and they didn't do it, and I just feel so annoyed with myself because I should have spoken up. In retrospect, like looking back, obviously everything turned out fine. My makeup was great. I looked pretty the whole week, but still very tedious. So if you're someone that's thinking about getting an eyelash lift before your wedding, don't do it. That's my advice. Don't do it. It's definitely not what I recommend. As someone who can put eyelash strips on by themselves, like I feel like it made it harder for me to put strips on that whole week and during my wedding, because the lashes were already like lifted. And yes, sure, it looked great without makeup when I was at the beach or at the pool, but at the same time, at what cost? Because my bottom lashes were also curled. So would not do it again. Okay, so we ended up having a very tightly packed schedule when it came to the bachelor and bachelorette party, which was on a boat that Wednesday, the week of the wedding. And so we were pressed for time. We let everyone know, like, please be at the resort by this time. And there were some people whose flights were arriving pretty late, and so we just let them know, like, you're probably gonna have to run to the shuttle. And unfortunately, I think everyone did with their part. They, landed, tried to get to the shuttle, but once on the shuttle's tire actually popped. on the way to the resort. Luckily they got there in time, but just know, I feel like this one is really nice because like this one was completely out of our control. The toenails, the eyelashes, and some other things on this list were totally in our control or in my control, but a tire popping is not. So just be patient and remember that everything happens for a reason. Now, while at that same boat party, everyone did end up getting there on time, and that ended up being really fun towards the end. However, at the beginning, one of the bridesmaids did get seasick. So I think there really is not a way to avoid that, but maybe just inquiring, is anyone like someone who gets motion sickness a lot? Like, we could have probably planned a different party. We thought the boat party would be a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun once like she was able to get through her seasickness. But I think the rush of the day of trying to get there on time and get to the shuttle and the tire popping, I think all of that kind of factored into like the anxiety in her stomach. Just be very mindful of something like that. Ensure you have snacks packed, drinks packed. I do think like we could have tried to be more mindful of the snacks packed. So once again, that's another item that's like really not in your control, but there are certain factors that you can do to try to help. Now, let's talk about the things that are somewhat in our control, but not really. So I was at the resort on Tuesday. My family was supposed to fly in on Thursday because Thursday night there was a guest welcome event. My entire family missed their flights. I'm talking mom, dad, sister, nephew, and sister's boyfriend. And they had to get rescheduled, luckily, for later that day. But still, it was quite an ordeal because they were finger pointing each other to see like who was the reason why they missed a flight. I do think whenever there's travel involved with weddings, make sure you're, getting to the airport on time. Make sure you're trying to not just be on time, but I think before, like, get there as early as you can, because travel is so sensitive, and if you're late, you could be rescheduled to the next day, which is what almost happened to one of my bridesmaids when she missed the flight with her family. In order to get them all there together at the same time, they were going to be rescheduled for the next day, and unfortunately, like, she did not want to do that, so she ended up having to pay another round of tickets, I believe, because it was almost $2,000 to get scheduled the same day all together on the same flight. And so, like I said, I think like our wedding being destination was the cherry on top to stress, because anytime you have to travel, it's just a really like big headache. Try to do your best to always get to the airports early. Set a lot of alarms. We almost missed our flight as well, and we were like just like stacked in my car with a bunch of suitcases. I cannot stress enough, like, you can plan, but like if one thing goes off, like it could just really change the plans and the whole course. So just really try to do your best to just plan in advance and get there in advance as well. So when you get married in another country, I know for Mexico we have to show our marriage certificate, or we were told we'd have to show it, and we were only doing a symbolic wedding there in Mexico, mind you, but we still were required to be married, and we forgot our marriage certificate. So because we were running so late to the airport, we ended up forgetting our marriage certificates, but thankfully one of the groomsmen was able to bring it for us. So it was a small stressor in the grand scheme of it all, but it was still a stressor. Okay, switching to some of like the guest and vendor issues. One of our guests on Friday, they went on an excursion. And mind you, a lot of us in the wedding party weren't able to go on an excursion on Friday because we had to do rehearsal. So the guest group, they went out and did an excursion, and one of them fell, got a huge like hole in their leg, and were advised to get stitches. They ended up not getting stitches and just wrapping it up in a bandage. But that was just such an ordeal because I found out about it at the rehearsal dinner, and I just could not believe that that's what they were going through. I felt so bad. They seemed like fine. I will say, like, my friends are all troopers. I feel like whenever things went wrong for them, they all like had good faces. They weren't really trying to like involve me or bring me into it. I think they didn't want to stress me out, but it still made me feel so bad that that happened to them. All right. Now, I know in my Majestic Elegance tour video, I talked about the issues we had with the front desk. So the front desk and even the concierge, like, they really weren't that helpful. And unfortunately, we did have a couple situations with them, and it made the list on things that went wrong the week of the wedding. So one of our groomsmen arrived on Tuesday with us, and we got the email from them where they were letting the travel agent know that they had arrived, or that they were going to schedule an extra day, which mind you, they had their days set up already and they were just adding that new day. And all seemed fine. However, once we got there, the shuttle driver let us know like he wouldn't be able to take him because he wasn't on his list to get picked up for today. Eventually, he was able to make it to the hotel, but once at the hotel said that they did not have any records of him staying for that night and that he was checking in the next day. So it was a huge headache. He ended up having to stay in one of the groomsmen's room. This is one of those issues where I don't know if I can point to like the travel agent or was it like user error. Like I still don't understand like how this problem happened. But at the end of the day, the hotel made no effort to try and find like a good resolution. I think the only resolution we came up with was because Dion ended up saying like, well, can he stay with someone? It just seemed like a lot of the issues were like Dion and myself making up the solutions and seeing if that was a way to resolve it. It seemed like the hotel was just really adamant on constantly repeating that there's an issue and that like it can't be solved, which is unacceptable. Another issue we had with the resort is a guest came, and not just a guest, she was a bridesmaid. She came with her dogs and her family and her service dogs, and they were denied entry. And they got there, I want to say like at 1 or 2 p.m. and it was not resolved until 6 p.m. and they weren't allowed to check into their room. No one from their party was able to check into their room. Mind you, they had booked, I think, 3 separate rooms. So it was really annoying. It was just like beyond annoying because it was frustrating. They had a newborn baby with them as well, who they were just like in the lobby with the entire time. I really wish the resort would have done more to kind of be like empathetic of the situation, especially since the bridesmaid had communication with them via email all throughout the months. They knew they were bringing dogs, and it just seemed like once again the front desk manager was just trying to be combative and argumentative rather than solutionizing. All right, one of the last issues, we're almost towards the end. So during the wedding, which mind you, during the wedding, like I think for the most part everything went smooth. However, there was one glitch, and it was during the time of trying to bustle up my dress before walking to the reception. It took, I'm not kidding, like 20 minutes to bustle my dress. So if you are a bride who has a huge train, be very mindful of that. Set aside time. I did not set up time in the timeline for bustling of the dress. So I really suggest setting that up because I missed a good amount of like I don't want to say reception time because it didn't start until we walked in, but like I definitely missed a good amount of time there that like could have been allocated to us walking in and starting the party. So be mindful of that. We ended up getting it bustled and it was fine. I was able to party all night. I never stepped on it, but still 20 minutes. So maybe put 30 minutes aside. During that time of my dress being bustled, our wedding coordinator came over to us and let us know that one of the decor items were not on the tables yet because they weren't able to get them there, which was extremely disappointing. We had ordered Don Julio bottles to be placed on every table, and we had ordered shot glasses that had our names on them to be at the table as well. And the entire time of the cocktail hour, it was empty. So people were just sitting there with like empty tables, like no decor on them. And it was just really frustrating. I'm really disappointed in the resort for doing this to us the day of. And when they had came to us and said like, do you just want us to pre-fill them with like well tequila or do you want other tequilas? I said, no, we can just do like a refund. And instead they said, oh, okay, well actually we found like some bottles that we can place on the table and no extra charge. And we ended up looking at like the bottles that were placed on the table versus ours, and there is like a bit of a money discrepancy between like what we paid and what they gave us when it comes to quality of the bottles and tequila, like maybe like a $20 difference. But still, it was just irritating because we had been talking with the wedding coordinator for months before the wedding, planning this, and to come the day of with issues saying like your vendor didn't give you enough bottles or whatever it was, like it was frustrating. But at that time I wasn't able to think about it. So I will say like if something comes up with the vendors or with the wedding coordinator the day of, ask for a refund. Know that those issues will pop up, but always be focused on like the money and time you put into something. I feel like the easiest solution would have been like, yeah, just, you know, throw whatever tequila on there, and it could have been like expensive. But no, like you do not want to be overcharged. You already paid so much for your wedding. You're at your wedding day trying to enjoy it. So get that refund or see what other solutions they offer. Don't let anyone like pull your arm during that special day, because I have heard vendors try to do that, and I'm so thankful that I inquired of like a refund. My last issue or thing that happened that was bad before the wedding, it's not before the wedding and it's not the week of the wedding. It actually happened the day after the wedding. We were partying around the resort and I ended up going to my room by this time instead of Dion, but we found out the next day that the DJ, who absolutely killed it at the wedding, ended up running by the pool and falling and hitting his head, and he had to leave the resort and go to the hospital. Once again, that's something that's completely out of your control, but just know, like, things will go wrong, people will get hurt, people will have to go to the hospital. Like, there's so many things, because there's, you know, so many people with different personalities, and just like different things can happen, right? So if you're a bride or groom watching this and you're just thinking like, I want to prepare for everything that could go wrong, just know you absolutely cannot, because we're all human with free will and we all have different things going on. If anything, I made this video so that we can laugh about it together. You can hear about all the things that went bad on my end, and you can see that although things went bad, we still had a beautiful wedding. I wish I could get married every day. Like, I wish I could have a wedding week every week. Like, it was just such a beautiful week. So just know my thoughts are with you. I truly think everything happens for a reason. And when things go wrong, just please laugh about it. Remember to have a good sense of humor about it. You prepared so much. There are things you cannot prepare for, and understand that. So with that, I'll leave you and let you know I wish you all the best at your wedding. I hope nothing goes wrong, but I extra hope that when things do go wrong, that you'll handle it well, and that you'll still be able to look back and think, wow, that was the best wedding ever. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see ya. Bye.